DDG episode 208. My name is Dave, and I'm joined by Michael.
How's it going, Dave? I like when we can pivot if we're recording Tuesday or Wednesday. It kind of hurts like our viewers' schedule in terms of when they can watch this, but it allows us to cover the state of play.
Yeah, I feel like we could do Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday at this point in time because, contrary to popular belief, having an editor, aka my wife, makes this super easy.
I try to avoid the Wednesday podcast, but
dude, she gets up at 5 in the morning no matter what. Like, no matter what day of the week it is, she gets up at 5 in the morning. Because I think she said, like, I'm going to text him. I'm like, you can't text him. It's like 4:30 in the morning over there.
I mean, I won't respond right away, but you can. Yeah. I always have a fear that I'm going to get, because this happened like once or twice, where I get a text from Angela at 6 a.m. being like, you didn't upload your file to OneDrive. I think that happened.
Okay, yeah. She goes downstairs to do something and it's not there.
Yeah, because I forgot to upload it, or it broke on my end. Yeah, and I'm just like, oh no.
Hey,
I think that hasn't happened since like the PS Nation days, but that's definitely
2 out of 200. I mean, even if it was PS Nation days, then you're perfect right now. So yeah, it's all good.
But there was like one time where I was like, I think I messaged Sarah, and I'm just like, hey, can you log into the computer for me? Because I'm at work right now and I can't upload this file. But yeah, Dave, how's it going? I know it was a tough weekend for you.
It was. The Lions. It wasn't. Like, they weren't supposed to be there. So
we talked about that last week.
I'm content. Like the Lions are picking 29th in the draft. They finished in the top 4 of the NFL teams. Like, what? How can I be upset about that? So. All right. Anyways, so we are Digital Days Gaming. We are a weekly podcast that posts every Thursday morning, 6 a.m. Eastern time, except for when Michael doesn't upload his files.
Hasn't happened for DDG yet. I'm gonna do it now
though. You can find us on Twitch, twitch.tv/Digital Days Gaming. You can also find us on YouTube at the same time, youtube.com/Digital Days Gaming. Following on Twitch and subscribing on YouTube are free. Sharing on Twitch to other people and sharing stuff on YouTube is free as well. And YouTube has all, like, you can listen to the podcast, you can watch the podcast, you can watch it late, or it can be archived, so you can watch it later. There is an audio only version of it, so if you're somewhere that maybe your work blocks certain things, usually work doesn't block YouTube, libraries don't block YouTube because it's a learning tool.
Do we mark this as explicit then?
I think we do.
Yeah, the podcast though, not the live feed. So you go to our YouTube channel, go to the live section, you'll be fine.
Oh, okay. So, but yeah, you can do that stuff. You can subscribe on Twitch if you want. You can pay with real money, or you can link your Twitch account and your Amazon account and get Prime Gaming, and you get a bunch of free stuff as well as a free subscription. If you have that, please use it on somebody. If you don't use it on a streamer, if you don't want to use it on us, find another streamer you enjoy, the community you like hanging out with, doing all that stuff, and subscribe to them. Don't let Amazon keep your money. But also please continue to check it every 30 days because it does not auto renew. So it's always super helpful to check it. We do not have to be live for you to subscribe. You can just click on us and search our name, Digital Days Gaming, and you can click subscribe and you can do it. We don't have to be live. So it's cool if you do it when we're live, but you don't have to. So everything else is linked in the show notes. Discord, Facebook, Twitter is all linked down in the show notes for you to check out and join the community, as well as checking out digitaldaysgaming.com, which is just the main website and hub that's going to redirect you to everything that I just said. So, all right. We're going to kick it off with some news and some bad news.
Well, we're going to earn our explicit tag. Xbox just laid off 1,900 people across Xbox, Bethesda, Activision, Blizzard. This now brings like the total layoffs in the video game industry to a little more than half of what it was for the entire 2023, which is just a crazy statistic to look at. But yeah, Xbox just basically, after we uploaded the episode where we praised them for the developer direct, they just announced that they are just laying off a ton of people. Phil Spencer, I believe this quote was given to IGN, basically said like they set priorities, identified areas of overlap, and ensured that we were all aligned on the best opportunities for growth. The Blizzard president left amongst this, wasn't laid off, but just straight up just left. And that was a couple months after they said that they were there for the long haul. Mm-hmm. But now someone from Activision is now in charge of Blizzard, which is like a very thing that like Blizzard was trying to fight for years since they were acquired by Activision. Some reports are saying like studios like Toys for Bob saw like a 50% staff reduction, and multiple studios seem like they were hit pretty rough, and it seems like no studio kind of was able to get out of this like without taking some hits. The Blizzard survival game was canceled, and there's potentially other projects that were canceled at other studios since the layoffs were pretty bad. But yeah, this is a lot. But Dave, I think you put it out there on Twitter, your reaction to it, which I think is it's correct, but it sucks that it has to be said.
Yeah.
Sort of scenario.
Anybody losing their job is terrible. I have been, whatever adjective you want to use, blessed, lucky, good, that I have never had to. I have never been laid off. I have never been fired. I've never had to collect unemployment. So, and like I said, I'm sure that I'm the 1% that has been fortunate enough to do that, or I've never like rage quit a job. Thought about it a lot, never did it. So anybody ever that loses their job sucks. However, speaking from a business standpoint, how many, and I'm going to speak in vague terms, so I'm not going to be precise or exact, but how many directors of HR do you need? How many, how many of these positions do you need? Like, yeah, each studio needs community. Each studio needs their own art directors. But like engine developers, like, do you, like, if you're owned by Microsoft now and you're going to start using Microsoft's engines, like, you don't need the other engines. Like, so that means you don't necessarily don't need those people depending on what the plans are. The realist in me that we've been talking about for years is if this Blizzard survival game was in development for 6 years and it was even fathomable to be canceled, it ain't that far along.
Yeah, it just might not be there. But yeah, like they specifically said in their statement, like they identified areas of overlap, which is why you've seen like a lot of community managers come out. You've seen a lot of PR people come out and said that they were laid off, and it's unfortunate that this happened. Like this is one of the side effects to acquisitions.
Mm-hmm.
Like every acquisition, like not just in the game industry, any industry, is usually followed by layoffs. So it's definitely one of those things where it's brutal to see. It does make Microsoft look
100%.
bad.
They look awful.
Especially the developer direct was like, hey, look at our developers. They're so like happy and like this is a great place to work. And then they do this. It also is very strategic what they did, because Bethesda was hit pretty hard by this. And if you remember, there were no layoffs after the Bethesda acquisition. And it was probably because Microsoft knew like we can't do two big acquisitions and follow them up with layoffs. So let's just hold out on a Bethesda one. So Bethesda, it almost feels like they're like, hey, wrap up whatever projects you currently have that you started under the Bethesda brand, not the Xbox brand, and we're going to hold on to you as long as we can until the Activision deal is done, and then they just bunched Bethesda and Activision together. So very strategic in what they did to make them slightly look better, but it leads to this gigantic number, which is like pretty damn upsetting, especially when you look at this where 2024 has already been. We're 31 days in and like 6,000 plus jobs have been lost.
Riot just did a huge chunk too,
like 500 people or something like that. Yeah.
So
Embracer just laid off Eidos Montreal.
I guess I want to ask you, the Matra, do you think that the human in you, and I think I know the answer to this, the human being in you, and the nice person that you are, because Microsoft's a multi-trillion-dollar, billion-dollar, whatever word you want to use, company, should they have just kept all these people because they can?
And that's the thing, is like that I'm nice, but I'm also realistic and understand capitalism is a son of a bitch. And it wouldn't work with capitalism.
Yeah. Because the example that I gave somebody that I was having a conversation with was, and I'll use you as an anecdotal example if you don't mind. So you and your partner live together. Let's say you both have work from home jobs, mostly work from home jobs, and you own 2 vehicles. Now you don't. So like this is like super hypothetical.
Yeah.
But you own 2 vehicles and you've done it for 4 months, and the second vehicle doesn't go anywhere. Do you keep it because you can afford it?
Yeah, no. At that point, you get rid of it, and that's
like, and it's nobody wants to hear the real world answer to that. But it's like, maybe they've evaluated for the first 60 days or 90 days after this acquisition. Okay, what do you do?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, like I feel terrible for Toys for Bob. Fantastic studio. What's the last thing they did? It's not
Well,
it's
and
not Microsoft's fault that Activision mismanaged it.
no, and that's the thing that you have to wonder about, like a lot of these Activision studios. It's just like, hey, cool, you make this specific type of game, and Activision already shredded you and turned you into a Call of Duty
Mm-hmm.
expansion studio, but we're not making you do Call of Duty expansions anymore. But your staff has been built out
Right.
like that, so things don't line up. And Activision stripped all these studios a long time ago and made them for one purpose. And now Xbox, you'd hope Phil Spencer wasn't bullshitting when he was talking about like going back into the Activision
Yeah.
archives and getting stuff. But if all the tool set he has are like, I make map packs, I
Right.
make, guns, and they're very fine tuned on one thing, like at a certain point it's just like, okay, we need to either fresh start or we need to like
Right.
strip this even more.
And I think it's going to be a fresh start. Like I think that they're going to now go to. I'm going to keep using Toys for Bob as an example. They're going to go to whoever's in charge of Toys for Bob and say, okay, what do you want to make? And
Right.
and like that's good. That's kind of where a lot of these studios are, because to your point, they've been doing Call of Duty for the last 5 years. So what do you want to
Yeah.
make, or what have you been making? Like we talked about, like in the little black book or the black notebook or whatever. What do you want to make? What have you been making? Okay, we own that IP. We can do that. What do you need to do it? Oh, I need to start doing this and this and this. Okay, so like, and this is the part that some people don't understand because it doesn't get reported on enough. Michael, what if I told you there was 450 more people working at Bungie currently today than there was when they laid off 100 people?
Well, no, and that's usually what happens is like,
They're up to
unfortunately,
1,400 people. They went down to like
Yeah.
900.
usually there's just like redundancies that they have to clear out, and sadly, unfortunately, that sometimes are like veterans of the studio who have like a higher pay. It's still unfortunate from the human element, but like if you just look at this as like a raw business thing, it's just how it is. Like
I'm sure the Blizzard president sat down at a meal or in a conference room with Phil Spencer and the board, and they said, "Okay, let's talk about where you're at with this, and this." And he's like, "Oh, this is where we're at." And they're like, and I'm just using it, like they're like, "That's it? That's what you've done the last 6 years?" Like, and they're like, "Okay, well, we can't go forward with this." So he's like, "Well, if you don't go forward with it, I'm going to leave." Okay.
Yeah. The only thing that like I think would help this news if they're like, hey, the top executives at Activision Blizzard, they're gone. Some of them are
already
gone,
got rid of
but,
them.
Yeah,
He already got rid of a lot of them. So
yeah, and it's one of those things where, especially when it comes, because Activision seems like it got hit more than Bethesda did.
well, it's shocking. They're a horrible company.
No, and that's what I was getting to. Like, there's a chance, they were like, we need to like completely kind of redecorate, and we need to like strip things off, and that does mean that there's some people that are perfectly great human beings that are on teams that it's just like, hey, this team isn't doing what we want to do in the future. It wasn't run the way we wanted to run, and then they had to move on.
If Toys for Bob's has been making building structures that you can vault and climb into and wall run on, and now they're going to make a cartoon platformer, they got to change their talent.
Yeah, and like some of these studios, to your point, will probably start hiring people later on. It's unfortunate. Most likely what's going to happen is they're going to just hire contractors and not give permanent employment or permanent heavy quotes.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to this, because we've talked about like games are so expensive now, and then when they're done, a lot of times studios have been doing something for 4 to 8 years, and then they want to go in a completely different direction, and you bring in this guy that's worked for you for 6 or 7 years, that he's the head of FPS View, and now you're going to make a third-person action game. Guess who you don't need anymore?
Yeah,
like,
and
it sucks.
And stuff like that.
It's awful. It's terrible, but it's kind of just the reality of the world. Like, everybody wants these game companies to do these new and innovative or bring back old things, but it's the, I'm trying to think of, I can't think, it's Cyberpunk trying to, or it's CD Projekt Red. Yeah, CD Projekt Red going from third person to first person. Guess what? They struggled tremendously.
Yeah. It's one of those things where like I wonder if there's more safety in being that artillery studio, that auxiliary studio. Iron Galaxy, their whole mantra is like, we're gonna just work on ports. We're gonna be an assistant studio,
Mm-hmm.
and they've been able to maintain like their business model by being that, because you have the
Right.
flexibility of
With
like,
a failed game.
yeah, yeah, multiple actually.
Yeah.
What was that game with the Giants that you played like at E3 like
Yeah,
10
but
years
they
ago?
just that what was it? What was the
Rumbleverse.
Rumbleverse
Yeah,
failed,
yeah.
flopped, shut off.
And before that, it was Extinction.
Yeah,
I believe was
Extinction. That's what it's
their
called.
last
Yep.
game before that.
Yeah.
But they're one of those companies where it's like they can take those chances and flop because they're doing all these other side works, which is why, you know, like when PlayStation acquired their auxiliary studios, they're just like, hey, these studios can kind of, you know, they're this like the Swiss Army knife or whatever of studios, to where, you know, when they run a situation and the studio head's like, we're got to pivot to another direction, they don't have to lay people off because it's like,
Mm-hmm.
this is the team you built. But yeah, no, Microsoft, really shitty for them to do this. We knew it was coming though. For the most part, I don't think I expected to be as bad as it was though. 1900 is a crazy number.
I would have to see the number that they acquired with Activision and Blizzard, and I'd have to see their total employee count in the Xbox gaming division.
The Activision Blizzard one was it like 5 to 8,000 employees? So it's not like, when you put it in that scheme, it's just like, okay, they acquired a lot of people.
Yeah.
But seeing that number in just one chunk is just
absolutely
wild. Yeah. But Microsoft's also a gigantic company, so it's like that number isn't that big.
They don't
to
need
them.
Blizzard server maintenance. They don't need Activision server maintenance. They have their own server maintenance team. Like, and I'm using broad terms again, but they have their own things like to make sure your game connects to being online.
I think the thing that you bring up the most is just like, do Activision Blizzard's human resource team seem like that failed for several years, or at least it was fighting against monsters. Xbox wants to implement their own human resources, so.
And companies do this all the time, by the way. Not necessarily lay off, but they overstretch. I currently work for a growing company. When I see some of my corporate people, they're like, I have X amount of stores. 7 months ago, I had 35 less. They push the envelope and essentially until the employee says, I can't do any more. You need to hire somebody else to help me, or they see that they need to hire somebody else to help them. So now this is a correction for Microsoft. Like, and again, it's a broad term. How many HR generalists do you need? You know, and you don't know the answer until you start seeing the HR problems. So let's trim it back, and then let's see what you can or can't handle, and let's either ride it out, or let's add after we figure out what we need to be at. But we don't need to be at 10. Let's see if we can get by with 6 for right now, and see what happens.
It's also like, because like Microsoft will probably in a couple of months be like, we just hired 1,000 new employees in the last 6 months,
and it might be some of the people they laid off.
No, and usually what happens in those scenarios is like, hey, you were a 401k permanent employee, now you're a contractor.
Right.
But you know, you can't, you know, at a certain point, it's just like, you know, people need jobs, so they'll take the contract work. It just sucks that like the video game industry is like flourishing for the most part, or at least we're told it's flourishing. And seeing this sort of stuff is just it's unfortunate. It's sad. And
well, it comes down to what are these major corporations doing with their profits? Like that's the question.
Giving it to executives,
right? Like that's the biggest problem. Is like, oh, Last of Us 2 remastered made this much. Naughty Dog lays off 300 people. Like, why? Oh, because we got to pay for Sony. And I'm using a broad example. Don't come at me. We're using Sony Ben's. You know, like we're using some of Naughty Dog's profit to bankroll Sony Ben because they haven't figured out what they're going to work on yet. As an example.
Well, Disney cut budgets to their park, and they cut like hundreds of employee staff. But then they announced the CEO of Disney made $40 million in bonuses. Like it happens all the time, and usually you can point to like a shitty executive who's just like, that's where the money's going.
Yeah.
But the only problem is the executives pay themselves and pay their buddies, so it's just like.
And they all sign contracts, and unfortunately, you don't really sign contracts as employees. You sign contingent offers, but you're also multiple states. You're an at-will employee.
Yep. Yeah, and that's, you know, how things go. But I don't know how to transition out of this, Dave, so I'm just gonna go for it. So last week we talked about Rock Band discontinuing DLC, or Harmonix discontinuing DLC for Rock Band. So PDP did the next logical thing and announced a new plastic guitar being made for Rock Band and Fortnite Festival. So this guitar is coming to Xbox and PlayStation with compatibility for PC. It is coming this spring. Currently only works with Rock Band 4 because Fortnite doesn't support guitars just yet. But by the time the spring comes around, that should be in the game. The guitar will feature an analog stick, so you can navigate in Fortnite. And I kind of love that idea because that's just going to lead to more people beating like Bloodborne and Elden Ring with a guitar peripheral, because now they'll have an analog stick to move. It's going to be foldable, and then it's going to have 36 hours of battery life. Plastic guitars right now are really expensive, and I'm talking about used guitars, so hopefully this is reasonably priced, and I'm probably going to pick one.
Well, we talked about this a little bit last week. Your instruments are old.
Yeah, I've had to like buy weird
Yeah.
3D printed parts to like Frankenstein them.
So in terms of having a good fun experience, like you've kind of figured it out, but it's kind of like sitting in your couch, like, oh, let me find the exact spot to sit in. Oh no, that's not right. Versus like a brand new couch that every spot feels the same. So like this is fine. I think it's gonna be. Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's gonna be interesting to see somebody like win battle royales with a guitar. That's gonna happen. I've seen somebody solo a raid in Destiny with the drums. So,
the analog stick's a great idea.
Yeah.
To add on this, it's specifically so you can run around Fortnite, but like the idea that people can mess around with it.
Yeah.
In other games.
So I mean, you hinted at this. I mean, this is cool. There's a market for this if they're gonna, especially. I mean, this is we're hearing that Harmonix is moving on to Fortnite concert or whatever that's gonna be. Like that they have going on, and they probably aren't gonna necessarily need to focus on the peripherals and let a third party do it.
Yeah, and PDP must have enough data that's like, or Epic is paying them enough to be like, just do it. Bite the bullet. Like, we don't care what it costs, how much you lose, we'll cover it. Or there's enough data that's like, hey, if this sells, okay, like we'll be good. I'm hoping like, depending on the price, if it's like $100 or less, I might end up pre-ordering 2 of them.
Yeah.
Just so I can future-proof myself even further.
Well, like they talked about this, the peripheral industry. Like Turtle Beach has been out in front of this. I remember meeting with them prior to the pandemic, and with the Fortnite trend going up, the need for like entry level equipment was going up because all of a sudden you had people playing it on their phone, playing it on like on a PC at work. Like almost anything could run Fortnite, and it was a really big when Ninja was at its high peak, and there was all this stuff going on, and like so the need for a $40 or $50 pair of headphones came up. Turtle Beach soared, and they used that money that they sold on their entry level headphones to make amazing like absolutely amazing stealth headphones.
Yeah, I'm sad. My Turtle Beaches, like the ear cups are starting to get a little nasty, but I really like this headset. I gotta find it again. But yeah, no, I mean that's why like you can buy like quote unquote gaming mice and keyboards and headsets at like $5 below now.
Yep.
It's because like the market's there for like entry level stuff. And who knows, this could be the thing that could revive Rock Band in the future of like, oh shit, people really bought up this guitar. Maybe people would want to, buy another Rock Band.
The reason for the decline in the player base was because the decline of the peripheral, and they couldn't get another peripheral. It's like, it's to your point, it's like you can't go to $5 Below or Best Buy and buy a $20 guitar right now. Like you'd have to go and find it, get lucky at a garage sale, find somebody selling it on Facebook Marketplace, or buy it on eBay for 3 or 4 times what it's worth. And if I'm an owner of Rock Band and my guitar breaks, and like the cheapest one I can get is, I think what you were talking about, like $250
just for one guitar.
Yeah.
I'm not the whole kit. The whole kit's like 500 to 1,000.
I'm not gonna play anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's like, I'm hoping this leads to at least maybe a drum set.
Yeah.
My drums are good, and I still have my Rock Band 1 drums, which I need to probably take apart and like really clean out. But like, I will hoard this stuff just so I can play when I'm 50, 60 years old.
Okay, Josh.
Yeah. No, I will hoard this, man. But yeah. So yeah, that's coming. Little nicer news, but I'm gonna follow it up with more like sad news. I guess sad, but like I know Dave is going to be old game is old. No. But Spec Ops The Line has been delisted. So 2K out of nowhere this week just delisted Spec Ops The Line from Steam, Xbox Marketplace, because it was a backwards compatible game. They didn't warn people ahead of time. Most companies do warn ahead of time, but they kind of just delisted it out of nowhere and just said like licenses are expiring, so they have to delist it. I believe it was up on the Xbox store the longest, and it went down according to some people on Twitter. But Steam was the first store to take it down. Those that don't know, Spec Ops: The Line was an underrated shooter that had a really good twist and story, like a really good story with a big twist that like people just wrote whole like think pieces on. It was one of those shooters from the 360 PS3 era that like just really was an example of like art.
I feel like it was kind of like the foundation of like intricate storytelling of like, do you really want to do what they want you to do?
Yeah, it was a first time, like I would not, maybe not the first time, but it was one of the first memories I can think of a game challenging the player. And I'm not talking about difficulty. I'm talking about like emotionally, and also just like
it was like a
really
it was a military version of Hellblade from like 3 years ago.
Yeah, or the Last of Us Part 2.
Yep.
You know, with Ellie's story. Like I almost feel like if Spec Ops didn't take that chance, we might not see some of the storytelling we're seeing now. So to see it just get delisted without a warning kind of sucks. Did I go on eBay and immediately buy a 360 copy? Yeah, I did, and I got it cheap because they started to
own it. I have to look. I don't know if I got it on PS3 and it worked on PS4. If I got it on PS4, I'd have to see.
It was only on PS3 and 360. It
is
was
it backwards?
a PS Plus game.
Is it? Yeah. Okay. So will it work on PS5?
No, it was a PS3 game. So
okay. Yeah.
It was backwards compatible on Xbox.
Yeah, I guess my only choices might be to find a 360 version of this game. So.
Yeah. And then I think Good Old Games held out probably the longest, but I think that eventually got delisted as well. But yeah, that kind of sucks that is happening to that game. And this is what we're going to start seeing, especially a lot of the games that might have had licensed music or licensed items in it. Those contracts don't last forever. And a lot of things that happened in that 360 and PS3 era were games using real world licensing, you know, whether it's music or like just having an item in the background. So we could see more games from that era get kind of delisted because of stuff expiring. I still wish like I could bring back the Obama ads from Burnout Paradise. I don't know if you remember that, but like Obama advertised in that game. But this weird stuff like that, like who knows how many games like had like Monster Energy branding that might have to go away eventually if that license expires. But yeah, that happened there. But Dave, let's talk about some good news, some fun stuff. PlayStation did a state of play. So earlier this week, they just, you know, did the PlayStation thing. We're like, hey, we're going to do state of play in like 2 days. And that was today. And I have all of the stuff that I feel like would interest me and Dave. So if I skipped anything, it's because I made a judgment call that Dave or me would not be interested. So the first thing is Stellar Blade. We got a trailer, release date of April 26th. This is the game that I hate being lazy and comparing it to Bayonetta.
I think this is what they showed us. That was Project Eve, right?
Yes, and then it turned into Stellar Blade.
Yeah.
So yeah, just looks like a pretty fast-paced action game. Got to see a little bit of stuff. The developer talked just a little bit. There were some little developer things here and there in it. I don't know if PlayStation kind of has figured out how to do that just yet. Like how to really make a nice free-flowing show. But Dave, what did you think of Stellar Blade?
I thought it looked really cool. Like, I mean, in terms of like the combat, when they showed the combat, I was really interested. When they showed all the stuff between the combat, I almost fell asleep.
I thought that was going to happen with you. Like I saw the combat. I'm like, okay, it looks Bayonetta-like.
Yeah.
And then I saw the in-between stuff. I'm like, okay, it's doing a little bit more than Bayonetta. But I automatically knew of like, it went from like a maybe to Dave to like a hard maybe.
Angela was watching with me, and she's like, her outfits don't match what she's doing.
Yeah. And that's just how some games are. But it's coming out April 26th, so it's good that there was like quite a few things that were like dated in this, or at least got like a first half spring window. Then we got Sonic Shadows Generations coming this year. It's a remake of Sonic Generations. I know you love Sonic stuff. I don't know if you played Generations back in the day,
I did not.
but all
It
those
looked
Sonic
cool.
games,
Yeah.
yeah, all those Sonic games kind of like blend together. So it's kind of hard sometimes for me to be like, which one is that?
Mm-hmm.
We got some Foam Stars footage coming to PlayStation Plus next week. Foam Stars still looks good. I'm kind of vague. I'm like a little against it because it just looks like Splatoon to me. But Dave, will you be playing Foam Stars?
No,
Do you still have PlayStation Plus?
I don't know. I think I
Okay.
do.
Okay.
Yeah, I do because I got online on Destiny the other day. So,
Okay.
so
All
yeah,
right.
I do. No, like if I want to do that, I'll play Fortnite.
I know you're like I already have my mindless multiplayer game.
Yeah,
Like I'm
I
good.
got a couple of those.
Yeah. But yeah, Foam Stars is coming. Dave the Diver is coming to PlayStation in May with a Godzilla crossover. This is, can we call this an indie darling? It's controversial calling it an indie darling because like Nexon
Mm-hmm.
funded it, but Dave the Diver is finally coming to PlayStation in May, and it's getting a Godzilla crossover, which it's kind of good. Godzilla's having a good like year.
Yes.
So good for Godzilla. We also got V Rising, an isometric survival RPG coming in 2024. This looked pretty good. Did it stand out for you, Dave?
It looked cool. I'm not. I'm trying to still figure out exactly. I mean, it's an asymmetrical top-down kind of like dungeon crawler light thing.
Yeah,
It looked
it was
interesting to
described as
me.
survival.
Yeah, that's the
So
part. I got a little turned off when I saw the building aspects of it and everything like that. I was like, okay, but it doesn't mean that I would hate it. So
yeah. Yeah, for me, it looked interesting. But I feel like with isometric games, they always look interesting to me, and then they don't hold my attention. I don't know. It's something about the perspective that just doesn't end up working out for me. The next thing we got, which is probably I would think is the coolest thing that people will be excited about, is Silent Hill: The Short Message is a first-person free-to-play Silent Hill experience that is out now. So I feel like it's been a while since PlayStation has had one of these interstate of plays where it's like, hey, you can play it today.
mm-hmm.
This looked pretty damn intense. I would recommend downloading it now in case Konami wants to PT this and take it away from you. But this looked pretty interesting. I know, Dave, you're not the biggest horror fan, but
No.
I know you like shadow drops. So
Yeah, I think they're really cool. I'd just be really curious. Like, this is, I guess, ultimately, I don't really know what this is. Like, obviously, it's the short message, so I'm assuming it's short.
yes, and it's free to play.
Yeah,
So
so I think this is a great way for them to get people kind of back into feeling comfortable. So to when they get kicked in the teeth with Silent Hill 2.
yeah, and it being a different perspective from Silent Hill 2. Like this is in first person, Silent Hill 2 is in third person. It's a way to like get people back into Silent Hill, but also not tire them out. So when Silent Hill 2 comes out, they're like, hey, this feels slightly more fresh because the perspective's changed.
Mm-hmm.
They did follow that out with a Silent Hill 2 remake trailer that was focused on combat. There's no release date on it. This said like in development. I saw a lot of people on Twitter complaining that it focused on combat because combat isn't like the important thing with the Silent Hill games. It's all about the atmosphere.
No, but the Silent Hill players are already going to play it.
No, and that's what I was gonna say. It's like the Silent Hill people are already bought in for the most part, so they need to get the Daves.
Yeah, I paid a little
who
bit more
are-
attention when they do shotgunning things in the face.
Yeah. So for me, I'm like, I already know that there should be the tension that I want there, or hopefully it's there. So like, I don't mind that they focused on combat. The next trailer, I would say maybe focus on the atmosphere, but you need to throw in combat and action just to get more people to pay attention to it. The next thing was Judas from Ken Levine's studio. There was a gameplay trailer, no release date.
It looked cool. I mean,
it looks cool. It's like cyberpunky Bioshock. So seeing it to say like in development makes me think this is years away, and they've been working on this game for a while, so that's pretty scary.
That's Ken Levine.
Yeah, I mean,
Still got that Vita in his pocket, making Bioshock Vita. Still working on it.
He's still working on it. Still working on it. I don't know.
However, back when it does come out, it'll probably be a Game of the Year contender. Like he's on that level.
Yeah, but it'll do the thing that all the Bioshock games did, where it's like, this is Game of the Year, it wins Game of the Year, and then they're like, that was pretentious as fuck, and then people then hate on it. But yeah, anytime I see it, I just think of Lady Gaga. So that's just me now being weird. So we'll see how this goes. It looks really good. It looks like Bioshock. Like,
yeah, I mean,
yeah, I know who it's coming from.
Yeah,
but
he knows what he's doing, and if it works, it works. Like I don't blame him, but he tells a cool story. So
yep, he tells a cool story, and it'll be controversial.
And you're gonna heal by injecting yourself in the wrist with a syringe.
And that's how you're gonna get powers too.
Mm-hmm.
Needles. The next thing that was after that, which also I think was really cool, Metro Awakening VR.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a Metro game that is going to be for PSVR 2 coming in 2024. This is a great franchise to be doing a VR game. Like, the whole point of that game is to have something on your face, have your gas mask on it, get that tension. So I think this is like has potential to be a really cool VR experience.
Yeah, your gas, just in theory, that's like your mask steams up when you're breathing heavy, like, and it gets foggy and all that stuff. I mean, like, there's so much cool stuff they can do with it, but still not gonna make me buy a PSVR 2 yet. But cool, kudos, nice job, Deep Silver.
Yeah, I did see people complaining that this is probably not going to be exclusive, but like right now, like if you have a VR 2,
the hell cares?
Yeah. If you have a VR 2, you just want content. And the only way that content's going to come to your headset is if it can make money and be on multiple platforms.
Yeah.
So, like, if you want more big experiences,
if you want anything to play on your headset, you need it to do well on Meta and on whatever this damn Apple thing is. Like,
yeah. Yeah, and especially if you're a VR2 headset owner and you're like, I'm tired of playing like these no-name indie games on this thing, I want like a big franchise on it, then you kind of almost have to support like the Metro game by default.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because it's like, hey, here's a franchise that's well known, and we're going for a VR experience for it. After that, they showed like one or two more VR games, and then we got Dragon's Dogma 2. We got a new trailer for that, and that is coming March 22nd, which I didn't realize it was actually coming out that soon. But yeah, Dragon's Dogma 2 coming out, looks pretty good. Dave, when you first saw this, tell me if you thought it was Monster Hunter for just a second.
A little bit. I was like,
Okay.
I was kind of like, is this a monster? Or like, and I also got some Horizon vibes from it, just like the combat and stuff like that. So it's interesting. It may or may not be something that's on my radar. We've had other Dragon's Dogmas, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dragon's Dogma 1.
Yeah, but okay.
PS3,
To be fair,
PS4?
you didn't put a 2 next to this in the trailer.
Oh, my bad.
When
my
I'm
bad,
reading,
my bad.
I was like,
Okay. I'll put a 2. I mean, you watched the whole event, but okay.
There's a lot of stuff in there.
Dragon's Dogma 2. There you go, Dave. It's in the doc.
I worked today. I had a meeting today.
I worked too, Dave.
I had a meeting and homework and a recording.
I had
and the homework you gave me.
Yes, watch the trailers.
It's a lot of stuff, man. I'm getting old.
Amen. Just do what I did. You watch it until Death Stranding 2, and then you just fast forward for the last 5 minutes.
Jesus Christ. Kojima.
It's just like, okay, let me just get to him talking. But yeah, Dragon's Dogma 2, Dave. What do you got?
It looks cool. Like it looks like third-person action games. It looks fun, and I would have to just kind of wait and see. Never played any of them before, so I don't really know anything about it. Don't really have much to say. It looked pretty.
It did. What also looked pretty is Until Dawn being given a remaster from Ballistic Moon for the PS5 and PC coming this year in 2024. yeah, I mean, this is just it looks slightly better, but it's a port.
I never played this.
Okay.
Um, so my understanding is this is kind of more like I Know What You Did Last Summer horror than it is like Scream horror, right? In terms of it's like kind of like the tongue-in-cheek horror aspect to it a little bit.
Oh, it's got some campiness to it.
Yeah.
Like there's
But it's not going to
there's
be
some
like
fun in it.
slasher, right?
It's not like a no. There's slasher in it, but
Yeah.
there's humor
Yeah.
potentially
Okay.
like buried in it as well. It's not like super atmospheric like a Silent Hill. It's
Yeah.
like, hey, a bunch of kids in teenagers in a cabin that are
Yeah.
being slowly.
No, I
picked off
know the
one by
gist
one.
of it. I've seen some people play it for Extra Life and for other things, and it doesn't look like it's terrible. I don't know if it's on the level I could play in front of Owen, but it's also on the
No.
level that I wouldn't have a problem. Like I wouldn't like freak out and like feel like I get my face ripped off by something. You know?
No. Anytime a character died when I played it, I'd just be like, "Ha, that my bad." And this is one of those games that it became a cult classic because PlayStation kind of abandoned it. Because if you
Yeah.
remember, what is that? The Order 1886 came out, and people were like, "This is a glorified cutscene."
Yeah.
And then PlayStation panicked because Until Dawn is like, QTE, like choose your own adventure sort of game. So then they just kind of like dropped like promoting Until Dawn. So Until Dawn honestly didn't really get like its flowers until like a year or two later when like streamers kind of picked it up again and
Mm-hmm.
showed how good of a game it is. So I like the idea of it being remastered. Like I'm kind of over remasters, but I'm still into remakes. I'm just over remasters.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of into this one just because it just never really got a chance when it released. It kind of had to rely on like word of mouth like years later. We'll follow that up with Rise of Ronin coming March 22nd. This looks good. It looks like this is.
I don't think it looked good.
I think it like from an like it doesn't look as good. I'm gonna compare it to Ghost of Tsushima because like samurais. It doesn't look fidelity wise as good as that.
It looked clunky.
It because it was like doing like high.
Well,
like,
okay, I got two problems with this with them showing this. I'm sorry, but so first of all, like I maybe get off my lawn. I'm old. They put subtitles up and they put a guy on the screen with a white shirt and white subtitles. Bothered the hell out of my eyes. Had a hard time reading, and he doesn't speak English, which is fine that he doesn't speak English. And then they're showing gameplay.
But you're like, I can't read the words.
They're showing gameplay, and I have to read what he's saying, and I'm not watching what's happening.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I know. I guess I realized that. I was like, I can't see what's going on if I'm reading the words.
Yeah, no. So like, I think it looked good kind of from a gameplay perspective, but also when I see Team Ninja's name, I'm like, okay, it's going to be a little clunky. Like they don't have like that sort of polish to their experiences. So I take that when I look at this game of being like, okay, this looks like it could be a good Team Ninja game, not necessarily like, oh, this is a console seller or I'm buying it day one.
Right.
But when I saw it, I was like, okay, Team Ninja, I know what to expect from them, and this looks like a good experience from that studio.
And also on a personal level, I feel like I've been like hoodwinked with Ronin, like because now when I think of Ronin, I think of the last Ronin, and I think it's a Ninja Turtle game.
And that studio apparently it's not doing well.
Yeah.
But yeah, after that we got a really long Death Stranding 2 trailer. I joked that I skipped like all of it, but I watched like a minute or two of it before I was like, okay, I just need to get to Kojima talking.
And you played the game. You played a lot of the game.
Yeah, but I don't even think I got to any of the cool story stuff that people talked about before I gave up on that game. But yeah, no, this is just Kojima stuff. It's weird. I love that he's weird. He's like the David Lynch of video games. Like he's just like the wacky filmmaker who's got like weird ideas and companies let him go off. After the trailer, Kojima appeared and basically announced his next project, which is going to be an espionage action game, aka I'm going back to Metal Gear, but not with the Metal Gear license. And then at the end, I believe they tease that there might be a movie tie-in with this as well.
Or movie level production, like
Yeah.
like it's a really weird, like over your head. Like I had to like look on Twitter of like what their intentions was with this, and it was kind of like Sony flexing of like what they have
They're
to
doing
work
a
with
synergy
Kojima.
thing.
Yeah, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
okay, you can flex with it. You can flex with whoever you want, but I just don't give a shit about Kojima.
You know what? I kind of am hitting that point where I like him to have money where he can make his weird shit. I just don't know if I want to play the weird shit. Because I think you need creators like this in the industry that are able to take chances and also are able to get money in
Yeah, but
order to take
he's
these
not
chances.
taking he's not taking a chance. Like he's doing he's doing a continuation of his weird as hell ass first game, which is just which is like Metal
No,
Gear
no,
Solid. Like,
but right now
where's
he's
his
got 3 projects.
But yeah, he's got an Xbox project going on too, doesn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, like
Yeah. So he's got the Jordan Peele
yeah,
thing with Xbox. He's got the espionage game with PlayStation and also Death Stranding with PlayStation. And I think 505 Games is helping with it. So he's got 3 projects going on there. And so I can't knock his hustle. Like he is running an independent studio, just like when we were talking about how like Remedy kind of laid out like their next 10 years
yeah.
of games. It makes sense for him to just be taking project after project so he can attract talent to work at a studio and also to keep cash flows in. And apparently these companies are willing to give him money even though they know the game might not come out ever or it's going to take a really long time.
Mm-hmm.
People want to be in the Kojima business.
They just want to put his logo on the screen.
But like, it's one of those things where it's like, does that mean it's financially viable? Because I don't think these companies are trying to do it for street cred.
I don't know. I mean, I guess.
Yeah.
Wasn't Death Stranding considered like not a commercial success?
Yeah, which you would think PlayStation would be kind of done with it, or was it actually successful, but just not like set the world on fire like Naughty Dog does, where they can sell 20 million units? Like maybe he's not that expensive after all. That they
maybe he makes these games with a $120 million budget instead of a $250 million budget. I don't know.
Which could be something like that. Most of his budget goes to whatever actor he's in love with at the time to do motion capture. But Dave, that was a state of play. I thought it was okay.
Yeah, B- for me, C+.
Yeah,
I mean,
I would go
nothing.
with like
nothing was there that I'm like I gotta have. And what made it worse is that Sony's main Twitter account teased some Spider-Man stuff, and they didn't show nothing.
Oh yeah. But it turns out it's like a
creator, like a game show thing
interview.
or something. Yeah,
Yeah.
like, but like this would have even they could have just thrown something in there at the end of it that said, "Hey, New Game Plus out Tuesday." Like
that would have made Owen's
anything.
Day.
Yeah, like Owen was. I thought for sure because like Owen got up and left during the Stellar Blade thing. He's like, "This is boring," and he walked out of the room. I was like, "They're supposed to be showing Spider-Man stuff, supposedly." I said, "I'm not 100% for sure." He's like, "Okay, I'll watch." And then he proceeds to leave the room like in between like Silent Hill multiple times. And
I'm glad he did leave because like he would have been even more disappointed.
Well, he just doesn't look. He just looks away,
Yeah.
like, or he walks out of the room and he turns around and like looks into the room. Tell me when it's over. So, but yeah, nothing jumped out at me as like a must play. I hate to do this because we're gonna do it, but like Microsoft showed 5 games that are coming out this year.
Well, and PlayStation showed several games that,
but none of them are dated.
Some of them were. I mean, I did put dates here. I mean, PlayStation showed third-party games and second-party games that have dates on it, but like I not having a PlayStation first-party game in a state of play is just,
Helldivers, but that's kind of second party.
Second party, yeah. Like, so
hey,
it's one of those.
There's been conversations in our Discord. Like, are you thinking that Helldivers is a game as a service? Are you thinking Helldivers is a one and done? They already showed like a coming later. They showed something like you're gonna be able to like walk around in a mech or whatever. Like, I don't know what kind of game this is. I'm probably gonna buy it. I'm gonna play it with my friends. I'm gonna shoot aliens in the head. Like, that's what I'm gonna do. Like, it's fine. But is it a 6-week game? Is it a 6-day game? Is it a 6-month game?
And I think. So I'm thinking it's going to be something in between. Like, I don't think it's going to have like seasons or anything like that. I think it's just going to be something. I feel like Helldivers is most likely to have an expansion.
Okay.
Than like seasonal content or a season pass. That's kind of what I'm expecting. Like, hey, if it's successful, we'll release like an expansion. And that's kind of all I want. Like, if it's a game I put like a month, maybe 2 months into, I would feel like that I got my money's worth.
Okay.
Just because I liked how they did everything in the first game. But yeah, this definitely felt like it was missing like some first party things, some tease. I mean, you announced like 3 new games from your 3 studios last year. Like, give us a little bit of something there. If those games still exist,
Hell,
and they're
show the
still being
Sony
worked
Ben
on.
logo and play the Uncharted theme music and walk away.
Yeah, just a little bit, just a little teaser. But I'll agree. I would say it's like a B-. They did show more games than Microsoft did, which I guess if you want to go quantity,
yeah, but Microsoft didn't show any remakes or remasters or stuff in development.
yeah, and that's kind of what it comes down to. It definitely didn't set the tone of like, oh, PlayStation's gonna kill it this year. It was like, oh, okay, it might be okay this year. But I didn't really get like the excitement I got at the end of the Xbox One or at any Nintendo Direct. I leave every Nintendo Direct
with
like,
one thing.
Fuck yeah,
yeah, one or two things. Like,
yeah. And this one from PlayStation, I was just kind of like, this is gonna be okay. There's like,
and then the bone they threw us was the Final Fantasy Rebirth State of Play, not theirs.
Which is next week. Yeah,
not. I mean, it's exclusive to PlayStation, but second party.
Yeah, and that's kind of, this might be how PlayStation is the rest of the year, because
where's Concord? Where's the money game? Where's the
fair game?
Fair game. Like where?
And that's what I'm saying. Like, you could have put a little teaser in there, just a little bit, something.
On the heels of, again, yesterday. Again, I hate doing this, man. I hate doing this. But yesterday, MLB The Show announced the cover athlete, and Xbox said, "Coming to Game Pass."
Yeah.
I just like, I love it and I hate it, because it's, everybody's like, okay, Microsoft, show us the games. Okay, we did. Oh, but Sony showed us better games, but they're not theirs. Like you said, show us what you're making.
And honestly, I didn't know if I saw anything here that was better than what I saw
for
Hellblade or
the best thing I saw in the show for me was Stellar Blade.
Yeah, and for me it was the Silent Hill short message, which is the free-to-play thing that I'll probably put an hour into and be done with. Which is a cool thing to have a shadow drop, because I love that sort of thing. But overall, I was just kind of like, oh, okay. Like I look at this list and I'm like, okay, Rise of Ronin, that's a maybe for me. Dragon's Dogma 2, that's a maybe from me. Stellar Blade's a maybe from me. Like, there's a lot of maybes in here and not one like I'm definitely buying it. I played Until Dawn already, so like I'm not like super like hell yeah. And Judas looks cool, but I also think Judas is like years away.
2026.
So I can't get excited. Yeah.
Holiday 2025, 2026.
Yeah, but I don't want to beat up PlayStation too much.
No.
You know, they're trying, guys. But yeah, that was a state of play.
All right. So we didn't have anything delayed. There's really not much coming out. But so what we're playing and watching. So quickly for me, like my week, I took Owen to his first professional NHL hockey game. We went and saw the Red Wings play the Las Vegas Knights on Saturday.
Are they good right now?
They're okay. They're hovering around playoffs. So first time in Little Caesars Arena, which is about 4 or 5 years old.
Do they serve Little Caesars there?
They do, because they're owned by the guy that owns Little Caesars. So
okay, I just wanted to make sure it wasn't just like
the guy that owns the Illich family owns the Tigers and the Red Wings, and they both have Little Caesars. So that was fun.
My favorite garbage pizza.
It's the only pizza Owen eats.
Kids got class.
We also went to Angela and I went to IKEA. We kind of are redoing our entertainment center, living room stuff. So we bought some stuff from IKEA, and in order for me to build that, we put garbage. Like, I guess just not garbage, but just movies that we have seen before. So I watched a combination of Air Force One, Sweet Home Alabama, and Fast and Furious movies while I was building furniture.
I just wish Angela walked around with you at IKEA and then recorded you pronouncing the furniture.
Oh, I don't even try to pronounce it. I just like, oh, that looks cool.
No, I just would have.
Who costs bookshelf?
I just would love to. Angela, I know you're listening to this. Next time you go to IKEA, just walk around with your phone and just ask him to pronounce things, and we'll put it as a bonus episode.
No, we'll just make them as viral TikToks. So,
There you go. Yeah, yeah.
um, and then so yeah, did IKEA on Saturday, a hockey game on Saturday night, and then Lions lost the NFC Championship game on Sunday to the 49ers. They blew it was a very winnable game, but it sucks. But they had a good season. And then I bought Suicide Squad, so I bought the deluxe version, so you guys can hate on it if you want. But I'm interested in the game, and I like looters, and I like stuff. I like loot, and some of the, it came with a couple of the different skins, which I think look hilarious in the game. And it came with weapons, so it came with toys, and I like to play with toys in my looters, so it was worth it to me. I have played about 2.5 hours, I think, or 3 hours yesterday. Did not have any server problems. I have seen the server problems, and welcome to live service rolling launches. Like, that's just kind of how it goes. I think the game looks fantastic. The cutscenes,
character models for an
yeah.
Unreal Engine 4 game are
Yeah.
kind of wild.
The Hall of Justice, like walking around it, the details they put into it look really good. The traversal is, when you understand it, is very smooth. It can be a little bit of complex controls. I think the game did a decent job at the beginning of letting you control each character for about 5 to 7 minutes to get comfortable with it. But if I had to go back to a different character, I don't know if I know how to do all their jumps and specials. So I am playing as Deadshot right now. I think, yeah. And I've done some of the like I've still felt like I was kind of in the tutorial stage. I stopped when like they finally showed like the overview map and some waypoints you can go to and things you can see. But I mean, the cutscenes, the dialogue, the writing, the little side jokes that are in it, like it's really, really good. I don't know if this game's gonna have any legs or not, but just the little like banter you hear back and forth with the characters in the background and how they're focusing on them, it's good. Like I want to watch a cutscene. I want to pay attention. I want to hear the stuff that's going on, and just like stupid stuff where he like Boomerang's like touching his ear trying to talk to Waller, and he's touching the wrong ear, and so the other guy's like, "Hey, dumbass!" Like it's like, it seems fine. The gunplay is actually solid. I've switched guns.
I can finally say that in the alpha, combat and traversal, really fucking fun in that game.
Yeah. Now I'm annoyed already by like get around the purple shield, kill the guys. That's a little weird.
That's kind of sucked because you have to do like your power shot a couple times to
break shields. It has this weird mechanic where it wants you to shoot them in the legs, and if you shoot them in the legs, you can melee them and get your shield back. There's a couple of like different things going on there. There's a lot of combo counter things that I'm still trying to figure out in the skill tree. So there's a lot of weird nuances, and there's a lot of systems they're kind of throwing at you really quick. And I hear currently right now, if you beeline the story, like if you just do the story, it's like a 10-hour game. Now, if it's a service game, 10-hour campaign is normal. That's normal. That was like what The Division was. That's what Destiny was. Each of their expansions. If we get, when the Joker comes in the next season in March, if we get 3-hour or 2.5 or 3-hour story missions for him, like that's solid. There's
3 more expansions after Joker. So.
3 more seasons.
Sorry.
Yeah. So, what they are going to be, I don't know. And just see. Like I haven't really had any boss fights. I haven't killed anybody from the Justice League yet. So
spoilers.
It's okay. It's called Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League.
It's just being on TikTok and seeing people pissed off anytime they see someone get killed. It's just like, come on, it's in the title.
Yeah. So I'm still reserving judgment. Do I think this game is worth? If you're listening to this right now and this game's coming out in 24 hours, if you're listening to the audio version, do I think it's worth you pre-ordering this game and spending $100 on it? No. Do I think that out of the box this game might be worth $70? So far, yes. So,
especially like if you care about DC stuff, even if you don't like the direction, like they're taking the Arkham universe. If you played the Arkham games, you gotta want to fucking see like this is how they get you. Like you're not gonna be happy with where they go with the Arkham universe, but you're gonna be interested because you invested in that universe. Like,
so so far I'm leaning towards positive. Now, I have the ability as an independent, podcaster, game player, whatever you want to call us, to separate the two things of like I enjoyed the story and I can walk away from a game and be okay with it and come back in March and pick it back up again if I want to. Or I can play the story and enjoy it and play endgame and then still play in March if I want to. And I'll make that decision as it comes along. I don't know the answer to that yet. This is a game that you really won't know maybe until 14 or 21 days in, like post campaign, and is the end game stuff, if it even has again end game, worth it. So like those are the jury is out on that right now, but at its core, like the little dynamic between the characters and the dialogue scenes and the way stuff looks and just like the detail on Green Lantern and the detail on Flash that I've seen so far, and a really cool scene with Batman, like it's cool.
Yeah.
Like, so
I look forward to hearing where you go, because it sounds like you'll probably finish it by the time you get to
I
the
hope,
next episode.
yeah. I will, I'll try to play it and stream it some more. It works really well on the PC. I haven't heard anybody complain about Xbox or PlayStation like performance or anything like that. So, I think it might, if you like, to your point, Michael, if you're a comic book fan, either one, DC or Marvel, and you enjoy Batman's or Superman's, like it's a different take, and I'm really interested to see what this take's going to be. And I have managed to avoid the spoilers entirely, so I don't know what's going on. That's part of it. I'm still trying to figure out exactly what's going on. Like, brief spoiler, I don't know enough about comics. Like Brainiac's the villain, and I haven't seen him yet.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, we all saw it in the trailers. I don't know why the Justice League is bad. I don't know that yet, and I'm 2.5 hours in to allegedly a 15-hour playthrough. So
yeah, which sounds like if 2 hours in they haven't told you that, it might actually be a 15-hour game.
Yeah.
So they might have been honest about that.
But yeah, that's it for me. So
yeah, for me, no games really. Work and life has been just kind of crazy busy right now. So the only thing I really did this weekend is I watched the Royal Rumble, because Royal Rumble is always fun to watch, and it was a pretty good show. Women's Royal Rumble was really solid. The only problem with that one is you knew who was going to win. There was like really no other option for a winner for it. So like I was happy Bailey won, but it was just one of those things where it's just like I knew Bailey was going to win like almost instantly. The men's Royal Rumble was really good. Cody Rhodes, as Curry Master just said, won the Royal Rumble. CM Punk, who everyone knows, I really like CM Punk, Chicago wrestler, made his WWE return only to tear his tricep like 10 minutes into the match, which is the second time he's torn it.
So he's Aaron Rodgers,
basically. Yep. And 45-year-old dude keeps taking months off between injuries only to come back and get injured. So it kind of sucked. It was one of those things where he did a really good job of playing it off, but since I've seen him get injured before with the same injury, at one point he went to the corner and he grabbed his arm and was like doing the thing where he's like trying to make a fist, and he's trying to do it like off camera. But as soon as I saw him do that, I'm like, fuck, he tore his tricep. I'm like, shit. And like Sarah is just like, what? I'm just like, fuck, no, he's hurt. But yeah, Cody won. Really good men's Royal Rumble. They didn't really rely on too many like surprises, because they actually have like an embarrassment of riches in terms of like the amount of talent they have right now. So they didn't have to rely on like getting like a bunch of old timers.
Like Mankind didn't pop it out of a coffin or something.
Yeah, Stone Cold didn't show up. The Rock didn't show up. So it's just one of those things where it's just like, it's rare for them to do that for a Royal Rumble. Usually they have to rely on like, hey, let's bring 3 old timers to get like everyone excited. But this year they're like, no, actually we have enough talent that we can fill 30 roles.
Kurt Angle's not wearing his Olympic Speedo or anything. So
no, he's just making memes now. That's all he does. But yeah, Royal Rumble, I tried to get back into the finals a little bit. Couldn't really get into a groove. So I've just been kind of doing my thing where I just played Tetris 99 to shut my brain off.
Where did you watch Royal Rumble? Like, do you have your subscription through Peacock or whatever?
Yeah, so I did the Peacock Black Friday deal in November, where you got a full year for like $19.
Okay, and you have access to all the pay-per-views that way.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Until Netflix takes it all, and then I'm gonna be stuck.
You think Netflix is gonna charge for those events?
No, I think they're just gonna be a part of their event.
Price,
they're just gonna raise the price for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. which means I might have to do Netflix with commercials because I don't want to pay for like $20 Netflix.
Yeah, I think I'm paying like $38.
Yeah, it's stupid.
But I've got it on 3 screens in 3 different states or 2 different states. So
I'm surprised they haven't cut you out.
well, no, it's that's why.
Oh,
because
you paid
we pay the
premium
multiple
thing,
account thing or multiple location thing. Yeah. So trust me, it like verifies my home network every once in a while. Like, okay, is this really you? You know.
So. Oh, and then Curry asked, "Is Rock coming to WrestleMania?" It's like, I don't think The Rock's gonna wrestle at WrestleMania, but now that he's part of
is WrestleMania?
April.
Yeah, it's right in the middle of his. He owns that spring football league too. That's like right in the middle of that kickoff.
And
so
he's probably backed up from like the writer's strike and the actor's strike, so he's probably doing a bunch of movies. I think he will wrestle at like next year's WrestleMania, but I don't think they're gonna actually squeeze him into this year's WrestleMania. And also like just because like he's like on the board of directors now doesn't mean he needs to wrestle.
Well, he owns the XFL and USFL or whatever that.
The CFL or something.
With the SFL now or something like that.
Yeah.
Like those two merged. And he's one of the primary owners of that, as well as, to your point, like he's on the WWE board now, which I'm sure his job just got a lot heavier with Vince being pushed out officially.
Yeah, Vince who? They erased that horrible man from history.
So I definitely think that if you will see more of The Rock in the wrestling standpoint, personal opinion, as more of the face of WWE. Not necessarily a fighter. Like he can be a host and he can be a hype man, and I'm sure he'll people's elbow somebody every once in a while, but I don't think you're gonna hear him like in the squared circle with a bell ringing. So. Yeah,
maybe next year's WrestleMania he can see him there, but I think at this point
they're gonna put him up against Triple H.
Triple H can't. He doesn't have the heart literally anymore because of the heart attack. So like The Rock will eventually fight his cousin Roman Reigns in like their big family match. But like that's probably going to be next year because like he literally just got put on the board of directors last week. So I doubt they're going to be like, hey, can you get in wrestling shape for April? Because last time he kind of just jumped into wrestling, he looked like dog shit because he just didn't have the cardio for it.
Because he was like in Fast and Furious shape, not wrestling shape.
Yeah. He was in like I look good standing still shape. He was not in I can do a 30-minute
I can
match.
flex out of a cast. I could do that.
Yeah. But can I run the ropes for 30 minutes? No. So it might be a little bit before we see him again. He would probably have to lose weight, like muscle mass, in order to like do wrestling shape again.
He is a lot bigger, broader than when he wrestled.
Oh, significant. He's probably like 50, 75 pounds heavier. In just muscle mass than when he was in his
for the record,
wrestling.
the movies don't want him to be 75 pounds lighter. They want him to
No. They want him to be larger than life because it looks better on camera.
Yeah.
His acting shit, but he looks better on camera, I guess. The Rock is literally the worst wrestling act, like not the worst. Hulk Hogan's the worst, but like Batista has like just completely surpassed him as like agree. The wrestling actor.
The Rock could not pull off the glass onion stuff that Batista can.
Yeah, or the Blade Runner stuff, or the Guardians of the Galaxy stuff. I mean, you saw Black Adam, like he can't do it. But
I just like to watch him shoot guns and flex. Okay, like.
That's weird, but okay. But I'm like, wrestling's not bad. But yeah, so that was it.
Let's say I'm weird. You watch grown men slap each other,
but they like really chop each other. You can hear the meat slap from like so far away.
You called it a meat slap?
Yeah, meaty men slapping meat. What's wrong with that, Dave?
That's weird.
That's how wrestling fans describe it. All right, that's it for me, Dave.
All right. So no questions or comments today. You can send us to us in the Facebook group. You can send them to us on Discord. There's a specific channel just for you to ask questions in. You can send them to us via Twitter/X or whatever. Hashtag Ask Digital Days. What is wrong with me?
Because I said it earlier. So like if you say it 3 times, like, bad, weird things happen.
So yeah, you can definitely check that out in the as well as in the show notes. All the socials are linked there. You can follow the main account at Digital Days Pod. You can follow Michael at The First MJC. You can follow myself at Good Dave Hunt. The Facebook group, Discord server are linked in the show notes. Patreon is linked in the show notes also. So next week I expect more talk of Suicide Squad. I think by the time we record next week, Helldivers will not be out. Helldivers comes out on the 8th. So But yeah, so for me, it'll definitely be more Suicide Squad. And I still need to kind of spend some more time with Prince of Persia because I'm seeing and hearing more and more and more good things
It's
about
really
that.
good, Dave.
Yeah,
It's really
so
good.
I need to spend a little bit more time with that. However, I am also diligently working on trying to just improve the house in general. It's kind of part of our 2024 resolution is just to get a little bit more things a little bit more under control and a little less cluttered. Closets are next and all that fun adulting stuff. So, which probably means another trip to IKEA. So you might get your wish.
Angela. Yeah, Angela. Got to do it.
So, other than that, you got anything else?
No, that's about it. Maybe I'll pick up Suicide Squad. Who knows? I don't know.
All right. I hope everyone has a great week and keep moving forward.
Don't be a dick. See ya. All right. I am so tired.
Yeah, I'm kind of getting there too.
I am so tired. Thanks everyone for watching. But god damn, I'm tired.
Thanks, Core Chris. Appreciate you hanging out, lurking around in there.
Curry, I'm sorry. I just missed the He-Man stuff. That was.
There's a new He-Man on Netflix.
I guess so.
Huh.
He-Man was like what, mid to late 80s, and I was a 90s kid.
Yeah, I had an older brother, like my brother being 10 years older than me. Like there was things I had to deal with him. So, but I like the Power Rangers too. I watch Power Rangers, so I'm right there.
Yeah, my brother was a He-Man kid, so like I saw the He-Man toys and thought it was like a weird wrestler. Like
that adds up. Part of the reason I like Voltron. It's because of my older brother. So.
And he had old Voltron stuff, but I always thought those were just like, oh, is this like a Power Ranger?
How much older is your brother?
He's roughly like 42. Okay. So he's like
he got
8 years older than me.
I was say my brother has a 10-year gap on me. So
yeah. So like I'm familiar with all those things, but just from like a toy perspective, like I missed all those cartoons.
Curry's funny.
Thank you for not judging me, Curry.
No, it's not what he's talking about.
No, I know that. Curry, what if I told you I was thinking of buying Infinite Wealth? So I continue to play around the series you want me to play, but I don't.
Maybe Curry, maybe you need to subscribe to Patreon, which I think you might be already, but maybe it needs to be a higher tier to get. I think you're the highest tier, actually, so never mind. It's not going to work. All right, guys. He's tired. It's 10 o'clock for me. I got to work in the morning, so we will talk to you guys later. Thank you so much for hanging out, chatting, and just chilling. Everyone have a great night. Talk to y'all later.
See you guys.